What if God called you to an area that is 0.5% Christian? Would you go? I didn't grow up in a Christian home. I actually grew up in a home of non-believers. My father was actually a drug dealer, and my mother and him separated when I was 3 years old, and my mother chose to begin dating a man that was not the best person in the world. He was very abusive, so I watched my mother be beat for a long time by this man as I was growing up. And yeah, never really walked through the doors of a church or had any faith for a really long time. And then I got into my teenage years and I began attending a church. Some rumors started about me because of my father and who I was, that I was smoking pot and doing drugs, and those rumors came from the youth pastor. It kind of really hardened my heart for the church, and I was 16 when I walked out and never returned. So I spent the next, 19 years really just kind of thinking church was just a room full of hypocrites that are just judging people, holier than thou. And then we moved to South Carolina in 2016. And then from 2016 to 2018, just kind of wandered for a long time. We ended up coming to Church at the Mill VBS that year. That Sunday before VBS started, I met DJ, and when DJ greeted me, he shook my hand and told me it was great to see me, like he had known me for years and I'd been a part of this congregation. So that kind of chipped away a little bit of that barrier that I had towards the church, because I'm like, this man doesn't know me at all, but he greeted me like he's known me for years. That was definitely a God thing. The Lord, just one day in service, I was sitting there and crushed all of my worldliness, and I just wept the rest of the service and just fell at his feet. Looking back on it, it's a turning point in my life. All of these worldly things that were such a huge part of my life, I was able to just put down immediately. And from that day forward, it's just been like he is crafting and molding me for what he has called me to. I went for 4.5 months without a job. I had been through several different job interviews, got to the very late stages, actually was offered 2 different jobs, and once I accepted them, the offers were rescinded. It was very strange. So I changed my prayer. I stopped praying for a job and I started praying for my purpose. And that is when the Lord sort of revealed to me in worship one day that he was calling me to something greater. He was calling me to become a pastor and leave my secular career behind. It was terrifying because of my past. I knew in my heart at the time that I was not worthy, that I was not worthy for the calling to lead a flock of his people to him, to teach them and to do those things. So I struggled with that for a while. I wrestled with that, and I met with several of the pastors talking about what I had experienced and the call that I felt on my life. And I met with DJ again, and he told me, he said, none of us are worthy. We're only worthy because he says we are. My call to Utah is, it's a unique one, because my best friend, who I had met when I was not walking with the Lord and saved, is a Latter-day Saint. We've been friends for 12 years, so the first 5 or 6 years, we were friends. He would talk to me about things, and I'm like, okay, that's cool for you. I don't believe any of that. I'm kind of doing my own thing. As I grew in my faith, the Lord began to break my heart for him individually, but then overall, the people. He broke my heart for those people through him, and then called me there to be the light in such a dark place. Jesus paid it all. When he calls you to him and you surrender your life, The moment of salvation, you are justified. You are in a right relationship with the Lord at that moment, and it's not because of anything that you have done. It is because of the work of Christ on the cross. When the Lord calls you to go to an area that is 0.5% Christian, you obey. And that place is not overseas. It's right here in our backyard in the United States.